Hi, and welcome along to a game of two halves here on DR Sports. Yes, I've been dreading this one. Look at his face. Look at him. You know what I mean? A big old smile on it.
I was dreading it yesterday when we had a man sent off. I thought, I've got to face Robbie tomorrow morning.
Yeah, all right. Listen. The game finished. Manchester United won. Arsenal won after extra time. Then it went to penalties. And United, as soon as I saw, the penalties were going to be taken at the end where you had your 9,000 fans, I was like, everything's just going against us today, man. You know, and then, of course, Havertz misses the penalty and Manchester United are through to the next round of the FA Cup and Arsenal are out. And the reaction of the fans, I was doing AFTV yesterday, I got to say, man, there's a lot of fans really losing it. And I have to admit, I understand a lot of it because, listen, I'm not subscribing to this thing about Arteta out, and I think that's way, way, way over the top. But I can understand the frustration when it comes to Arsenal and Mikel Arteta's seemingly, I don't know, his desire not to buy a striker. Now, Jesus went down in the game yesterday. That's another striker out. Saka's out in that forward line as well. You can see how much we're missing him. And I looked at the stats, Mark. Over the last two games, that's the game between you guys and Newcastle, we've had 49 shots. 49. And we scored one goal. And even that goal was a deflected goal. And you just see glaringly that Arsenal must go and get a striker. However, big up to Manchester United. They were very resilient. And if you go down to 10 men and you end up winning the game, even though it was on penalties, you haven't won it over the night, but you won it on penalties, you deserve to win the game. You deserve to win the game. It was a resilient display by Manchester United.
Yeah, look, there's two things for me, two separate things, but let's start off with the Arsenal because I think the referee was it's a separate topic, and I don't blame Arsenal for that. I think looking at Arsenal yesterday, I think we spoke on Friday on That's Football about, I was quite confident because you're right. I think there's a vulnerability to Arsenal. I think they're playing a lot of games. They really struggle without Saka. Still a fantastic side defensively. It's not all bad. And as we said last week, I think if you put Ollie Watkins in that team, I think Arsenal would be a really good team. But the trouble with yesterday is, as soon as we went down to 10 men, I said, we'll lose this game because we're playing at Arsenal, 10 men. That we've been watching football long enough. When you play against 10 men for half an hour, doesn't matter how good your defense is, you're going to need some luck because chances will happen. And then they did happen. And if Ollie Watkins was playing instead of Havertz, you'd have won that game. But I think a lot of people saying if Liam Delap from Ipswich was playing, you'd have won that game. I think if Rory Delap had been playing, I think if Rory Jennings had been playing, you'd have won that game. And I've got to say, because we dealt with your set pieces, which we didn't last month, I was really confident as the game went on because I was like, it's in their head. Arsenal, it's almost like Arsenal know they're not going to score. And then you hear Arteta after the game saying, I've tried to find the actual quote because I still don't believe it. But apparently he said the referee was favouring United. And I thought, mate, I've defended Arteta. I think he's done a really good job.
I didn't see him say that. I'm not sure if he
said it might be, sometimes on Twitter, it can be a fake quote, but loads of people were saying it. And I was like, surely he hasn't said that. I did hear him say that they should have won the game and he's backing his players. And I get that. But as you said, it comes down so glaringly obvious to so many people that if you had a striker in that team, then you would have beaten Newcastle, you would have beaten us because the volume of chances are there and you are going to attack for an hour, which you did. And you just need that type of a player, which, as you told me last week, a lot of it, you've got to look at Arteta because it seems to be coming down to stubbornness. And I think the most symbolic thing for you is that Havertz signing. When it happened, I looked at it and went, I don't get that. I don't get giving that amount of money to Chelsea for a player that I don't think's a goal scorer. And then for a few months, it didn't work. And then for a few months, it did work. And then now it's not working again. So I think you've got to look at it in its entirety and go, that signing really should have been an out-and-out striker.
Yeah, it's really weird because he kind of came in really not even to play as a striker. It was more, we were told at first he's going to be like sort of attacking midfielder. And then he sort of moved into the striker position. He's a good player. he's not a striker. He's not a clinical enough player to play in that striker role. And we're paying the price now. And without Saka, Saka's the clinical guy. Saka's the guy that makes things happen. Saka's out for a long time. I mean, I did an interview the other day with this doctor, who, funny enough, the doctor, he did Mikel Arteta's medical when he was at Everton, right? And he was saying that when you get like an injury that Saka's got, which is basically he's had to have surgery on his hamstring to reattach it, he goes minimum 4 to 6 months, which means we might not see Saka at all this season. Arsenal have to go into the transfer market and, you know, get themselves a striker or a forward player. However, I mean, listen,
just on that, Robbie, I wanted to ask you something because it'll completely miss my. I've watched Man City for years, and I cannot stand the way they fall to the ground and they surround the referee. I've watched Arsenal, and I've never noticed it. But yesterday, I thought I've got to ask Robbie this: is that normal behaviour from Arsenal? Because it's like the Delot first yellow card, which was a yellow card. Gabriel was on the referee, and he's on the halfway line. He's ran all the way. I really noticed it yesterday, and there was a lot of going to the ground. There was a lot of surrounding the referee. And I was like, are they doing this because they really do miss Saka and they're really good at set pieces? So they're sort of like, can we get an advantage by getting someone sent off, get loads of set pieces? It feeds into it for me because Arsenal used to be like last season, I thought Arsenal were a fantastic side to watch. And it's almost like they've become obsessed with set pieces.
Arsenal have got a bit of a dark side to them now. That is something that, you know, and I have to say, like, for a lot of fans, they're kind of like pleased to see that, that we've developed that, because over the years we've been too soft. Yeah. However, I have to say, right, I mean, I watched back the Havertz penalty and I don't like seeing that. He dived. I don't like diving. I know everybody's going to slag off the ref, right? And I don't think that ref had a great game. But to me, the player needs to get slagged off for that, because you're conning the ref, especially when there's no VAR, right? Havertz was not touched. He dived, right? We're seeing this week in, week out in games. I watched a game the other day, Chelsea, Delapa, you mentioned earlier. He dived, got the penalty, right? These players, they're looking for this contact and diving over. I don't like that. I don't care if it's my player or your player or any player. I don't like it, right? And it's almost like justice was served with us missing that penalty, because, you know, Odegaard doesn't normally miss penalties, right? So, but it was never a penalty. Never a penalty in a million years. I don't like it.
I thought I actually think that, again, I'd probably give some credit to Arsenal because the way they've revolutionised set pieces, we've mentioned that American football approach, but I actually think somebody probably said to Arsenal yesterday, and I don't know whether I'm pro or against it, there's no VAR. There's no VAR. The referee is going to, there's an opportunity to do stuff and the referee won't get any protection. And I agree. Havertz dives there. You don't need to go down. But the referee yesterday, I mean, I know there was no VAR and some people said he was incompetent, but I said it throughout the game and I'd still say it now. If I'm Howard Webb, I'm pulling him in this morning and I'm asking him. I just thought it was unbelievable, swayed one way. And I know Arsenal were at home, but it was. And I think so many Arsenal fans were like messaging me last night saying, look, you know, we should have won that game, but I'll put my hands up now. I'd love to have won it, but the referee, it was just so one-sided.
There are no good referees, Mark.
No, right? But you know the penalty, but also he's staring right at that foul at Bruno on the edge of the box. And there is no explanation. I mean, I must say,
that was the other one. I was surprised that wasn't given.
How do you play on?
I didn't understand it. The referee was poor. As I said, I don't know if you saw the Villa game on Friday, Villa versus West Ham.
How'd you get a corner for that?
With the phantom corner, right? The referee's right there. He can see when the ball's kicked, right? It goes out, right? He doesn't give anything. And that corner leads to Villa scoring and getting back in the game, right?
How can you give them when it's not hit them and you clearly haven't seen it then? So you're guessing.
Honestly, like the standard of refereeing, right? And it's a difficult job. I've met a couple of referees, right? And it's a difficult job. But come on, it's your job. Yeah. We know it's a difficult job. There's a lot of people with very difficult jobs. Still got to do it properly. There's people who've got difficult jobs. If they don't do it properly, people die. Like doctors and that.
I know you watch a lot of amateur football. My kids play football. I watch a lot of amateur football, and I want to make it very clear. I went in on that referee yesterday. I think he should be investigated, but I watch so much football at amateur level, and I've never shouted at a referee, and I never will, because they've got no VAR. They don't normally have linesmen. It's horrible doing amateur refereeing, and they do a great job. But this lot, they've got all the protection in the world. They've got the technology. They never get held accountable. I actually think they're the ones damaging amateur referees, because if you look at the game yesterday, it was just somebody at some point. I thought at half time, he'll go, I've had a really bad half. I'll be better. And you know what? A minute before the penalty on my watch along, I said, all he needs is to give a dodgy penalty, and he's completed the lot. He's done absolutely everything. He's given us the red card. He's given us loads of yellow cards. He's given us loads of free kicks. Giving them a load of free kicks. Fair play to Harry Maguire. I thought he was going to bloody start tombstoning Havertz or something, because it was just like that frustration of knowing it wasn't a penalty. But look,
I saw some of you watch along, man. You were turning into tie on the referees. You know what I mean?
I got to be honest. It got to a point where I wasn't enjoying the game, and I was like, I thought that's really sad, because there's been so many good games at Highbury, Emirates. I mean, look, Binder in goal was brilliant. I'm sure he's going to be in our team of the week. And it reminded me of that. It wasn't as good, but remember that David De Gea game at the Emirates a few years ago? Yeah. God, and I was like, I loved that game. But I think yesterday it did get spoiled a little bit by the referee. Yeah. But ultimately, the result was probably not that surprising. Because I think Arsenal are vulnerable, and obviously you've got the North London derby on Wednesday, and if you don't win that,
boy, I tell you, like it's football can change a lot in 1 week. You know what I mean? The defeat against, we were unbeaten at home up until last week, and then now we've lost to Newcastle, we've lost to you guys. It is unthinkable, right? That Tottenham can come there and listen, it's impossible, but it's unthinkable to the fans. That is when Mikel Arteta will start to come under heavy, heavy pressure. And listen, he's a bit unfortunate. There are a lot of injuries at Arsenal at the moment. A lot. You saw, as I said, Timber's gone off with an injury yesterday. They're talking that could be a hamstring. Calafiori before the game, who is expected to play, muscle injury. They're dropping like flies. We've had injuries all season. That's one of the reasons why Arsenal haven't been at their fluent best. Where's Ben White? He's been out for ages. Tommy Yasu's been missing literally the whole season. Lots and lots of important players missing. But we're in a January transfer window, and this is
what
a chance. Yeah. Well, it gives you if these injuries happen in February, March, you're done for. But there's a chance to, even though it's difficult, we know how difficult it is in January, there's a chance for Mikel Arteta to fix it. But at the moment, it seems to be moving slow. We're not really hearing much. And, the
Man City are doing business, aren't they? Man City
are doing that. That guy, Omar Mamouche, who's looks like he's on the verge of going to Man City, was a player that a lot of fans were saying, well, why don't Arsenal go and take a look at Mamouche? Surely, if the price is right, you could get a player like that. He's playing for Eintracht Frankfurt. No disrespect to them, but he'd move. They haven't done nothing. And I just did a transfer show earlier on today, and I was saying there are 3 strikers, in my opinion, that Arsenal could get this January transfer window. Guys like Victor Osimhen, guys like Jonathan David. These guys are available. John Duran at Villa, I think, would move if the price is right. So, got to do something this window. But it was, tough times for Arsenal. Great win for Manchester United, and a great draw for you as well. Leicester City at home. Ruud van Nistelrooy returns in the next round.
Yeah, look, I thought the FA Cup was, I think Plymouth, Brentford, good result. Arsenal, Man United was eventful. Tamworth did quite well against Spurs, but beyond that, I didn't like the way it was stretched out from Thursday. I think there's still a game tonight. A lot of teams rotated. I love the FA Cup, but you look at, Salford getting beat by 8-0 by Man City. It's just embarrassing, really. But look, that's the thing, isn't it? It's I said this from a United perspective, and I'd say it from a Bournemouth perspective. The Premier League's so competitive this year. If you have a go at the FA Cup, by the time it's April, Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, probably going to be in the last stage of the Champions League, might be in a title race. The FA Cup semi-final might not be a priority. And if you're Bournemouth, you put your strong team out, you could be going to Wembley. So I think teams should take it more seriously. For us, United, we're not going to do anything in the league. We're 12 points off fifth. So it's Europa League and FA Cup for us. So getting that result yesterday, as much as it was a battle, it's massive. Yeah.
You know, the crazy thing about it, right, is what you just said there, Mark, right? Last year, I remember because I was saying actually what's going on at the moment kind of mirrors a bit of what happened last season. Because I remember in December, Arsenal, they lost to Fulham, they lost to West Ham. Everybody was on a real downer. Then we went out to Liverpool in the FA Cup. Then they actually went away because they didn't have the FA Cup, had a little break, came back rejuvenated and went on an unbelievable run from then till the end of the season. So, I mean, listen, it hurts
Saka, though, don't you?
Yeah, it hurts that defeat, but I think what Mikel Arteta can do, go and get a couple of exciting signings in this transfer market, rejuvenate everything, take a little rest on the next, FA Cup weekend and that, and then try and come back and have a go at this league. It's going to be difficult, but very depressing. But great for Manchester United and great for Ruben Amorim. And I was very, very impressed. Bruno Fernandes, what a clinical finish. But I agree with you. Some of the other games, I mean, there were so many games that are just absolute foregone conclusions that I think those games are only exciting for you. If you're a Liverpool fan and you see the 16-year-old kid playing, it's exciting for you. But for everybody else who's watching that game, they're like, yeah, we know what's going to happen. You know,
I'm so glad we've got the Premier League like literally back tomorrow, because it's like, I can deal with an FA Cup weekend as long as the Premier League's going to be back soon, and having the midweek fixtures is a godsend, really, because it was football, but it wasn't what we used to.
Yeah. All right, listen, let's get into our team of the week then, right? Which of course is based off of the FA Cup. I think a lot of it's based off of the games that we kind of watched, right? Because you can't. There's so many games you can't watch all of them. But let's start off with in goal, Mark. Who did you go for?
Well, look, I think I'd be right in saying Binder. The funny thing is, after your goal, I thought the punch was terrible. I thought his kicking was terrible. And I actually tweeted he's a load of shit. Dreadful. I tweeted he was shit. And sometimes you want to delete it because you're going to get a load of hate. I thought, no, I'm not going to delete it. I'll quote tweet it and say I got it wrong, because he was absolute shit up until that penalty save. Yeah. And then after that, it's almost like, well, at Arsenal, don't you? Sometimes the shirt can be too big. And I think so many goalkeepers at United over the years have got nervous, Bosnich, etc. And he just grew into him. He made that penalty save, and then he made the one from Rice. And after that, I thought he was absolutely brilliant. So that's my goalkeeper. Yeah.
I think it's he's definitely in. You're right about his kick. I think he kicked everything out. He's trying to. He was aiming for Arteta, I thought. You know what I mean? Like every time he kicked the ball, right? But you're right. And then in the penalty shootout, he makes that big save. Definitely in our team of the week. Right back, I went for Trent Alexander-Arnold. All the noise that's been around him this week. I know, they're playing in a game that they're expected to win against Accrington Stanley, but he scored a great goal. And I thought he just answered all of his critics. He silenced them. And I'm going Trent Alexander-Arnold. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll go with that. I mean, I'm going to put my hands up. I haven't watched lots of FA Cup this weekend. I watched about 6 games. So, across the games I saw, I think Trent would be the one. Yeah, definitely.
All right.
I disagree on this one, though, because your centre-back pairings, you've got Maguire and Tosin.
Yeah.
I actually gave, on our player rating show on the United Stand, I gave De Ligt a flawless 10. So I've got to put De Ligt in there because, mate, have you seen that clearance from Trossard?
Yeah.
But no, beyond, I mean, that's a one. I mean, I don't know how he did it. It was amazing, but I just thought
Maguire
blocked everything. Look, him and Maguire were brilliant, but I thought
Maguire, you know what it is, right? When a team like Arsenal is so dangerous from set pieces, you've got a guy like Maguire in there winning headers, putting his body on the line. I thought he had a really good game, Maguire. He gave everything. He came off, looked absolutely whacked when he came off.
I say let's go Maguire and De Ligt and Tosin out. I mean, he's only playing against bloody
but then he did score 2 goals.
Yeah, but this is against the mighty Arsenal. Maguire and De Ligt.
All right, let's put De Ligt in. Let's put De Ligt and Tosin. I think Tosin deserves to stay in there. 2, he's not a regular goal scorer. 2 goals. I think he's got to be in there.
Okay.
All right. Left back. I didn't really get to see many of which left back I should put in it. But I went for O'Reilly of Manchester City. 8-0, clean sheet, young player. Give him a shout in there, get him in there. You know what I mean? I thought, fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was going to say that, or Tamworth's left back. I mean, I can't think of a left back that did that decent apart from anyone
The
else.
fact is, Tamworth, I wanted to put Tamworth players in there.
But we don't know
But,
him.
you know, well, it's not even that I don't know him. It's just the fact that they did end up losing 3-0.
Yeah.
So, in the midfield, these are my three, right? You'd be happy to know that Ugarte's in there. I thought he had a very good game.
Yeah.
Bruno Fernandes, great finish. Great. He's a quality player when that was a quality strike. And McAtee of Man City, who scored a hat-trick. I mean, again, Salford, but it's a hat-trick.
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit I didn't watch the Man City Salford game because I was just like, I thought it'd be a big waste of time. So I'll bow down to your knowledge on that one. I didn't even know he had a hat trick. That's how ignorant I was. But I thought Ugarte and Bruno were good. And yeah, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? The biggest game of the weekend, you're going to be a bit top heavy on that. But also, Man United Arsenal being the biggest game of the weekend was also the hardest game of the weekend because those two teams are rivals in the Premier League. So it was probably the highest standard as well.
All right, what's your front three?
I'd struggle in this. I was going to put Havertz in. Thought he had a good game. Good game for United.
You listen, right? You listen. Stop this, yeah. You're doing this little wind up on the sly, yeah.
I got another one. Definitely. You know what? Arsenal fans can be really moody this morning, but there's one player that gave it everything for you yesterday. Madley. He's got to be up front. He's got to be. Arsenal fans can't be unhappy with him. He was brilliant, but.
This is why.
I'm struggling, Robbie.
I've got this, people, and I've got this for the whole the next 2 days until we get our next game. I've got this.
Might have it for a week if you lose to Spurs. You have expressions on your case.
Oh my god, I can't contemplate it.
I'm trying to think. To be fair, United's front three weren't that good. Arsenal's weren't that good. Spurs weren't that good. So, yeah, I mean, you're probably looking at Man City game again. I suppose the Plymouth goal scorer, I don't know, what was his name?
Yeah, we're going. So I'll give you my front three then. I went Whittaker from Plymouth. He scored the winner against Brentford. You know, I mean, absolute brilliant. They've been on the floor. You know, Rooney didn't really have them pulling up trees, but that was great. Jota, who I did watch that game, and he was a constant threat in that game, and he scored. And also, I went for, I hope I pronounce this right, Nguoma, who plays for Liverpool, 16 years old. He made his debut for Liverpool. He was formerly at Chelsea, and Liverpool nicked him off him. And I thought he played really well. He was a threat. He didn't score, but he played really, really well. And 16 years of age, what a story. And that's why I've got him in my front three.
Well, I like that. I mean, the FA Cup, you can be critical of it, but look at that front three. You've got a guy who's 16, and then also fair play to Plymouth because I was keeping an eye on that, and it was 0-0. Brentford had rotated a bit, and then with 20 minutes to go, Thomas Frank brings on the big hitters, Mbumo and everyone, and then Plymouth scored against them. So I think fair play to Plymouth, and I'll go with that. I haven't got a bloody clue otherwise.
Yeah, that was the magic of the FA Cup. Whittaker with the winner there for Plymouth, and they're through. I think they got Liverpool in the next round.
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
So I mean, they'll go out, but listen, it'll be a big payday for them, which is for some of the smaller clubs. That's really, really good. So anyway, that's this weekend's games taken care of. I'm going to go away and lick my wounds. Of course, we'll be back on Friday for the second half, where we go over onto Vats football. We'll be looking ahead to the weekend's games, and I'm sure we'll be talking about the games that happen midweek. Arsenal, we got Spurs, big North London derby. You guys, Southampton.
Should be 3 points, but the big one is
Southampton. Please, man, humble this guy.
Forest Liverpool tomorrow as well.
Yeah, that's a big game. That is Forest Liverpool. That's an exciting one. It's good to have it back, isn't it? Yeah, back to Premier League action. But Mark, thank you very much. And as I said, it'll be over on Mark's channel on Friday, where we take a look ahead of the weekend. Some big games on the week. Who have you guys got on the weekend? We got Villa.
We got Brighton at home.
Some big games. So
that'll be two easy wins for us. We're back.
What's
the gap between us and Arsenal? Can we close that one?
People, I'm gone. I'm getting out of here. See you later.